I was on a trip, in a hotel with my affair partner, while my husband was back home. My name is Audrey, and this is my story. It's a tale about how a life built on comfort and love can crumble, and how one moment of weakness can change everything forever. The first thing I remember is the ceiling, a blinding institutional white. It was the sterile light of a hospital that seared my eyes, as if punishing me. I tried to move, but my body was a foreign, motionless thing. A primal panic clawed its way up my throat, but my lips remained sealed, holding the terror captive. I was trapped within myself, completely paralyzed. Then the door creaked open. Mary, my daughter, entered, her eyes swollen, her hands trembling. She forced a fragile smile and sat beside me, her voice a fragile whisper. "Audrey, you were found in a hotel room. You'd blacked out." Her voice broke, the words dissolving into tears. And then came the final blow, a dagger to my heart. "Father, he's gone. He's gone!" My heart simply stopped. My mind screamed in silent agony. A profound terror tore through me, because I knew the reason, and I knew the person responsible. It hadn't always been this way. I had once trusted Reese, my husband, the steadfast man who had held me close when storms rattled the windows of our house. We built a life together, brick by brick. He was my anchor, or so I believed. But comfort can breed complacency. Desire whispers of new horizons, and weakness finds even the smallest cracks. I met Brooks on a business trip in New York. He had a smooth smile and hands that lingered a moment too long. He saw me in ways Reese no longer did. The first kiss was a dance of hesitation and fire. The first night, a betrayal masquerading as escape. I convinced myself it was harmless, a temporary lapse. I was lying. It started with shadows. Reese's silence when I returned home late. The questions he never asked. The distant look in his eyes that I couldn't bear. His gaze would meticulously scan receipts and phone records, catching the tiny details that had slipped from my careless lips. Then came the questions. Calm. Too calm. Who were you with? Why so late? I laughed them off, dismissing his doubts. But in his terrifying stillness, I saw it. He already knew. The night before my collapse, he kissed me goodnight. His lips were soft, impossibly soft. His touch lingered on my hand, as if to memorize me. I didn't realize it then, but it was his final farewell. The hotel room was filled with the smell of sweat and sin. Brooks's body was over mine, our laughter echoing between the sheets. Then came the darkness, not sleep, not peace, but a sudden, absolute nothingness that swallowed me whole. When I awoke, my own body was the chain that held me to a bed. My betrayal was a brand carved into my very soul, and my daughter Mary's words finished what the paralysis had begun. Father's gone. The story unraveled through her sobs. My husband had driven home alone the night I left. A crash, then flames. They called it an accident, but I knew better. It was no accident. It was a message. Grief consumed me, but beneath it, something sharper began to form. Not despair, not regret. Strategy. I replayed every look, every word Reese had given me in those last weeks. He knew. He orchestrated this. He wanted me to suffer, locked inside this useless body while he took himself out of my reach forever. It wasn't a punishment. It was revenge. And I refused to let his be the final move. My paralysis made me invisible. People spoke freely around me, assuming I was broken. I listened. I learned. Brooks visited once, and only once. His eyes darted around the room, guilt practically dripping from him. He blamed me, calling me careless, saying I ruined everything. He thought I couldn't hear, couldn't see the relief in his retreat. Mary stayed. She didn't know the full truth. She still loved me, and I would use that. I asked her to bring me Reese's files, his laptop. She believed it was grief. It wasn't. The password? Our wedding date, of course. Inside, I found everything. Insurance policies, hidden recordings, drafts of letters never sent. He had meticulously documented my betrayal, building a case against me, a bitter legacy. One note sent a chill down my spine. She'll be alive, but not living. That will be enough. He had meticulously planned my paralysis, the drink in that hotel, the silent poison that stopped me mid-breath, and the crash, his grand finale. My legs were useless, but my mind was sharper than ever. From that bed, I rewrote the story he left behind. Insurance papers were adjusted, his savings redirected, his recordings edited, spliced, and uploaded. I framed Brooks, the man I sinned with, as the mastermind, the poisoner, the architect of it all. Every keystroke was an act of vengeance. Every forged email, every scheduled post, another nail in Brooks's coffin. When the police arrived at his door, evidence stacked high. His face must have mirrored the shock Reese had once seen on mine. He was dragged away, screaming, "My betrayal! My betrayal!" But no one believed him. I never faced my husband again. He had denied me that. But I did face Brooks. They wheeled me into the courtroom, silent and still. While he sat chained, his eyes wild. He looked at me, searching for mercy. I gave him nothing. The judge read the charges: attempted murder, insurance fraud, and reckless endangerment. His protests echoed, but Reese's forged trail of breadcrumbs led straight to him. He realized then that he wasn't just losing his freedom. He was losing the life he had built on lies, the reputation he had cherished. Piece by piece, I stripped him bare. Now I sit by the window, sunlight warming my face. My body remains a cage, but my mind is free. Reese thought he had ended me. He believed paralysis was a fate worse than death. But he underestimated the strength of the betrayed. I outplayed them both, the man I loved and the man I sinned with. One is buried, the other is shackled. And I am still breathing, still thinking, still dangerous. I lost my body, but I won the war, and that is enough.